Hello, sixth graders, and happy Thursday. I'm really excited for us to learn a little bit of new content before we go to Thanksgiving break. Today we're going to talk about what a percent is and how to convert decimals to a percent. I know you're going to do a great job, and so does Mr. Smiles. Let's dive right into our video. We're going to start with our do now. Write each fraction as a decimal. Write 5/8 as a decimal. To write 5/8 as a decimal, we need to divide the numerator by the denominator. So I'm going to write 5 and 0 thousandths divided by 8. Whenever I divide a decimal, the first thing I need to do is bring my decimal point straight up. Now I can start my division. Should I start with 5 ones, 50 tenths, 500 hundredths, or 5,000 thousandths? I can start in the tenths place. So I can put a 0 in the ones place. How many times does 8 go into 50? 8 goes into 50 6 times. What's 6 times 8? 6 times 8 is 48. When I subtract 50 minus 48, what do I get? It's 2, and I can bring down my 0. Now I can start dividing again. How many times does 8 go into 20? 8 goes into 20 2 times. What's 2 times 8? It's 16. When I subtract, how much do I have left over? I have 4 left over, and I can bring down my next 0. How many times does 8 go into 40? 8 goes into 40 5 times. What's 5 times 8? It's 40. When I subtract, how many do I have left over? 0. So the correct answer is 625 thousandths. 5/8 is equal to 625 thousandths. Now you try one. Write 1/4 as a decimal. Divide 1 divided by 4. The correct answer is 25 hundredths. Take a moment to check your work with mine. We're also going to work a lot with division. When we divide, we're going to do it differently than we did in 5th grade. We are no longer going to write our multiples down the side where our divisor is. We need to write the multiples of the divisor out to the side in an organized way to help us keep going. So the first thing that you need to do is list the multiples of 34 on your paper. 34 is our divisor, or the number we're dividing by. Use the space on the right to write the multiplication sentences for 34 times 1, 34 times 2, 34 times 3, all the way to 34 times 9. Take a moment to find those multiples on your paper and then type them into the boxes on the computer. Check to see if your multiples match mine. Now we can do our division problem. 884 divided by 34. Should I start dividing with 8 hundredths, 88 tens, or 884 ones? I should start dividing with 88 tens. How many times does 34 go into 88? 34 goes into 88 twice. What's 2 times 34? 2 times 34 is 68. What's 88 minus 68? It's 20, and I can bring down my 4. How many times does 34 go into 204? It goes in 6 times. What's 6 times 34? It's 204. When I subtract, what do I get as my remainder? It's 0. So the answer is 26. Now let's divide 1,334 divided by 23. The first thing you need to do is list your multiples of 23. Go ahead and list your multiples of 23 now. Check your multiples with mine. Now you can complete the division problem. Do that on your own. When I divide 1,334 divided by 23, what's the result? The correct answer is 58. Take a moment to check your work with mine. Now let's answer a couple ratio problems. The ratio of strawberries to blueberries in a fruit basket is 3 to 4. If there are 60 blueberries, how many strawberries are there? I can use a ratio table to answer this question. The ratio of strawberries to blueberries is 3 to 4. I need to find out if there are 60 blueberries, how many strawberries are there? I know that I can multiply by the same amount up and down the table on each side to find an equivalent ratio. So first I need to figure out what did I multiply 4 by to get to 60. 4 times what is 60? Divide 60 divided by 4 if you need help figuring it out. 60 divided by 4 is 15. 4 times 15 is 60. So now I can multiply 3 times 15 to find the value of strawberries. What's 3 times 15? It's 45. If there are 60 strawberries, or if there are 60 blueberries, there are 45 strawberries. Now you try one. The ratio of sugar to flour in a batch of cookies is 2 to 3. If Saul uses 48 cups of flour, how many cups of sugar will he use? Go ahead and answer that question now. The correct answer is 32 cups of sugar. Now let's do another. What's 4 times negative 5 minus 8? Well, when I do this, I use the order of operations, and the first thing I need to do is multiply. What's 4 times negative 5? It's negative 20, so I get negative 20 minus 8. That's the same as negative 20 plus negative 8. My signs are the same, so I can add the absolute values and keep the sign. What's negative 20 plus negative 8? It's negative 28. Now you try one. What's 6 times negative 3 plus negative 4? Well, 6 times negative 3 is negative 18 plus negative 4. The signs are the same, so I can add them and keep the sign. My answer is negative 22. Write 11/4 as a mixed number. Well, a fraction represents a division problem, so 11/4 is the same as 11 divided by 4, or 11 divided by 4. To write it as a mixed number, I can divide. How many times does 4 go into 11? 4 goes into 11 twice. What's 2 times 4? It's 8. So what's my remainder? It's 3. This means that I have 2 full groups of 4/4, or 2 wholes, with 3 left over out of 4. The answer is 2 3/4. Now you try one. Write 16/3 as a mixed number. Well, I need to divide 16 divided by 3. When I do that, I get 5, remainder 1. That means I have 5 whole groups with 1 left over out of 3, or 5 1/3. Now we're going to have a chance to quickly practice our multiplication facts. Go ahead and write the multiples of 2 on your paper, and then enter them on the computer. Check your work with mine. Now enter the multiples of 3 on your paper and the computer. Check your work with mine. Now enter the multiples of 4 on your paper and then on the computer. Check your work with mine. Now enter the multiples of 5 on your paper and then on the computer. Check your work with mine. Now enter the multiples of 6 on your paper and then on the computer. Check your work with mine. Now enter the multiples of 7 on your paper and then on the computer. Check your work with mine. Now enter your multiples of 8 on your paper and then on the computer. Check your work with mine. Now enter the multiples of 9 on your paper and then on the computer. Check your work with mine. Today we're going to talk about percents for the very first time. Per means out of, and cent means 100. So percent just means out of 100. If I said 32%, that's the same as saying 32 out of 100, or 32 hundredths. Today we're going to convert between decimals and percents. To write a decimal as a percent, all we have to do is multiply it by 100 to find the number of hundredths. Let's convert each decimal to a percent. Convert 92 hundredths to a percent. Well, 92 hundredths already means 92 out of 100. To convert that to a percent, I can move the decimal twice to the right to multiply by 100, and the answer is 92%. 92 out of 100. Let's try 8/10. To convert that into a percent, I can move the decimal once, twice to the right. So the answer is 80 hundredths, or 80%. Let's do number 3. I can move the decimal twice to the right to find the number of hundredths. 1 and 54 hundredths is the same as 154 hundredths. So write that as a percent. It's 154%. Look at the next one. 512 thousandths. I can move the decimal once, twice to the right, multiply by 100 to find the number of hundredths. So the answer is 51 and 2/10%. 51.2%. Now you try a few. Write 2/10 as a percent. Well, I can move the decimal once, twice. The answer is 20%. Write 84 hundredths as a percent. I can move the decimal once, twice. The answer is 84%, or 84 hundredths. Try number 7. Move the decimal once, twice. The answer is 140%. Now try number 8. I can move the decimal once, twice. The answer is 59 and 1/10%. So to convert a decimal to a percent, multiply by 100 and move the decimal twice to the right. That'll tell you the number of hundredths. To convert a percent to a decimal, I can go the other way. I can divide by 100 to find the number of hundredths. So to write 42%, I can start with the decimal after the ones place and move it once, twice. 42% means 42 out of 100, or 42 hundredths. I could do the same for 3%. I could move the decimal to the left once, twice. So 3% means 3 out of 100, or 3 hundredths. 54 and 2/10%. I can move the decimal once, twice to the left. So the decimal is 0 and 542 thousandths. 129%. That's going to be more than one whole because it's more than 100. So I can move the decimal once, twice to the right. The answer is 1 and 29 hundredths. Now you try a few. Write 22% as a decimal. Well, I can move the decimal once, twice. The answer is 22 hundredths. Write 8% as a decimal. I can move the decimal once, twice. The answer is 8 hundredths. Write 59 and 1/10% as a decimal. Well, I can move the decimal point once, twice. To divide by 100, the answer is 0 and 591 thousandths. 137% written as a decimal. I can move the decimal once, twice. The answer is 1 and 37 hundredths. The baby llamas have talked to each other, and they've agreed. You did a great job on this video. Now they'd like for you to do the practice, and then raise your hand so that Ms. Tramontosi or Mr. Gibson can check it. After that, you'll get to take your exit ticket.